what the numbers aren't telling you. The numbers are out for January 2023, and while the pundits will have you believe that the market is crashing, maybe that's because it sells newspapers and gets more clicks, but something very different is happening in the marketplace. So the numbers are out. Remember, this is comparing January 2023 to January 2022. Sales are down a little over 44%, and prices are down about 16%, and we're even down 22% from the February peak. New listings are down almost 4%, and in January, the Bank of Canada raised the prime lending rate to 4.5% and signaled that maybe it was time to stop. Do you think? Some pundits are saying they're going to have to start lowering rates by the end of this year. Okay, so what's happening with the numbers? Well, the first thing you have to understand about the numbers is, things really started to peak in Jan-Feb of last year, and so we've been seeing the numbers come down from there. So we're kind of at the peak and trough, if you will, of that 12-month cycle. So, while pundits are out there saying prices are crashing, it's going to go down even more. Look, it's down, over 16% in January. That's because they're still comparing it to this peak, and then once this peak is over, then it'll start to normalize a little bit. Well, prices have remained relatively flat. Real estate numbers are very hyper localized and by the type of product that we're talking about, condos versus houses. So for example, in the 905, detached houses are down over 24% or almost 24%. And in the 416, in the core, condos are down only 6.4%. So it's very different depending on where you are and the type of real estate you're talking about. These numbers aren't telling the true story. So in Toronto, in the core, primarily where we work, houses are back. Houses are back, baby. Say the last 2-week period, we've seen bidding wars come back. It started with one, then it was a few that we noticed, and then it was more, and then we talked to other agents, and sure enough, houses are coming back. And what I've noticed is there was a bunch of properties that were sitting on the market for a long time, and now those are all getting snapped up. So supply is very limited. Why that is buyers are back. Buyers kind of took a break in the fall, Christmas. They're still buying, but not as many and not as much. Now with the Bank of Canada signaling they're going to pause, people are starting to feel, oh, okay, well, things are normalizing. If I can afford, my home at this mortgage level, then okay, maybe it makes sense. And, long-term mortgages, so 5 years, are actually, at a more reasonable rate. They're significantly lower than the variable rate because the yield curve's inverted. You'll see mortgages, 5-year mortgages in the 4% range. Now you're seeing, most of the houses that are listed now have offer dates. Again, is what we used to have. It sort of stopped there for a while, but now we're seeing offer dates come out again. I'm not going to call it. I'm not going to say the market's back. I'll say the market's back for now. Let's see what happens when we get some inventory in the housing sector. It's a bit scary, honestly, if it's back. So let's see what happens when we get some more inventory in the next few months. And we're starting to see on condos, a little bit more competitive action. What I will say is condos, obviously they're different than houses. They didn't come down as much, so the gap closed compared to houses. And that's, because they were more affordable, and when rates were up, that's what people could buy. But now what you might see is that gap expand again. Just in terms of supply, we're going to see lots of buildings come online this year, which is going to add supply to the marketplace, which, frankly, you don't get that in houses, right? Because you're building new houses, you're building lots of condos. So let's see. It might be quite a different year for condos versus houses. Conventional wisdom would have it that, the spring market is the market to list in. But, listen, the last few years, even before the thing we just went through, the big thing, January was kind of becoming the month when it's a good time to list because nobody else is listing, or a lot less people are listing, and the buyers are still there. I noticed it really in January 2017. January 2020 was a monster year, and then it kind of came back each and every year after that. So it's sort of an interesting aside. Maybe January is now the month, despite conventional wisdom, if you want to get the most for your property. If you're interested in getting into real estate, start looking now. You know, it was a good period of time in the fall in the last few months because, you know, you could take your time, you could get offers with conditions. But we always said, you know, when this market turns, it's going to turn quickly. Maybe it has. I don't want to call it yet. Let's see when we get the supply. But, you know, maybe it has turned. And if you're thinking about selling, you know, listen, now is the time to list right now. You know, we're telling all our seller clients, hey, listen, let's get this property back on the marketplace or on the marketplace because, you know, when supply comes back, there'll be more competition. But if we can get it in now before that happens, great. So I hope you found that hugely helpful. If you have any questions, if you want to talk about real estate, shoot us an email, info@thinkto.ca. So please like this video and smash that subscribe button so we know how to make more of this content each and every week. Talk soon.